Have you ever looked into an animal's eyes and wondered if they feel heartbreak the exact same way we do? For the longest time, science taught us a very cold rule. Animals operate strictly on instinct. Survival, reproduction, nothing more. Grief and deep affection? Those were supposed to be uniquely human traits. But if you've ever owned a dog that refused to leave a vacant spot on the couch after another pet passed away, or if you've seen footage of wild animals mourning, you know that rule is completely broken. Today, we are looking past the science books and diving into the raw, emotional world of the animal kingdom. How do animals show love? And more importantly, how do they grieve when they lose someone they love? If there is one animal whose grief closely mirrors ours, it's the elephant. Elephants are built on empathy. Their brain structure features a highly developed hippocampus and limbic system, the very areas that process deep memory and complex emotion. Consider Eleanor, a well-known matriarch in Samburu, Kenya, when she collapsed. Another matriarch from a completely unrelated family named Grace rushed to her side. Grace used her tusks to gently lift Eleanor back up, trying to help her walk. When Eleanor died, the reaction of the surrounding herds was extraordinary. Over the next week, 5 different elephant families visited Eleanor's body. Some stood silently for hours, gently touching her face and ears with the tips of their trunks, their most sensitive physical organ. They didn't scavenge, they didn't move on to feed, they paid their respects. Even years later, when elephants walk past the bleached bones of long-dead family members, they slow down, they pick up the skulls, turn them over softly, and pass them to one another. They ignore the bones of other species, but they stop for their own. That's not instinct, that's remembrance. Move from the savanna to the open ocean, and you find a heartbreak that takes a different physical toll. Dolphins and whales are fiercely social creatures. Marine biologists have documented dozens of instances where a mother dolphin will balance a deceased calf on her dorsal fin, keeping it at the surface. Because cetaceans must actively choose to breathe, lifting a companion to the surface is an act of saving their life. When a calf dies, mothers continue this behavior long after it ceases to make biological sense. In 2011, researchers off the coast of Greece spotted a mother bottlenose dolphin pushing her deceased calf upward repeatedly. Every time it slipped back down into the abyss, she dived to retrieve it. This went on for days until she was visibly exhausted. Why do they do it? Brain scans show that cetaceans possess specialized brain cells called spindle neurons, the same cells linked to social awareness, empathy, and suffering in humans. In fact, some whale species have more spindle neurons per unit of brain tissue than we do. Their capacity for loss isn't an assumption. It's written in their neuroanatomy. We often associate emotional depth with large mammals, but some of the most startling displays of grief come from creatures with feathers. Take corvids, the family that includes crows, ravens, and magpies. When a crow finds a dead member of its species, it doesn't just fly past. It emits a specific alarm call that summons dozens of other crows. They gather in the trees around the body, completely silent, watching. Now, scientists long believed this was purely utility, a way to assess nearby danger. But magpies have been observed taking it a step further. Ethologists have recorded magpies gently pecking a fallen friend, then flying off to collect grass and twigs, placing them beside the body in what looks unmistakably like a ritual layout. And then there are pair-bonded birds like swans, goose species, and lovebirds. Swans mate for life. When one partner dies, the survivor often undergoes a profound physical decline. They isolate themselves, stop eating, and refuse to find another mate for seasons, sometimes dying shortly after. It turns out, dying of a broken heart isn't just poetry. It's a physiological response to lost attachment. You don't need to go to the wild to witness this. Millions of pet owners have seen it firsthand right in their living rooms. We all know the famous stories of loyalty, like Hachiko, the Akita who waited at a Tokyo train station every day for 9 years after his owner passed away. But everyday domestic dogs and cats process loss in ways that are just as profound, even if they're quieter. When a companion animal dies, surviving pets often experience severe behavioral shifts. A 2022 study published in Scientific Reports found that 86% of dogs showed negative behavioral changes after the death of another dog in the home. They slept more, ate less, and spent time searching the house, visiting the favorite spots of the missing pet. Cats, often unfairly stereotyped as aloof, show identical signs. They wander from room to room making low, mournful vocalizations, checking areas where their companion used to sleep. They don't understand the abstract concept of mortality the way we do. What they understand is a sudden, aching void where a bond used to be. Their routine breaks. Their neurochemistry drops in dopamine and oxytocin, and distress sets in. So, going back to our original question, are we just imagining this? The short answer is no. Science is coming around to a new consensus. Grief is not unique to humans. Evolutionarily, grief is the tax a species pays for love. If an animal is wired to form deep, cooperative, protective bonds, whether to survive in an ocean pod, an African elephant herd, or a domestic household, its brain must reward connection with pleasure and punish separation with pain. When you strip away the human language, the funeral homes, and the obituaries, what is grief at its core? It is the unwillingness to abandon a connection that has ended. It is love with nowhere to go. When an elephant cradles a bone, when an orca carries her calf through the ocean, or when a cat sits by an empty bed, they are displaying the rawest form of that truth. They are telling us that love isn't a human invention. It's an evolutionary imperative. If this video gave you a new perspective on the natural world, consider hitting the like button and subscribing. It really helps the channel share more of these stories with people who care. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.